Hello, Dallas. It's time to wake up and get wealthy. I'm Terri Arends, Group Fitness and Wellness Director with the Arend Family JCC. And today we are going to talk about stepping out on your best foot. So thank you, Kerry Little, for coming today.
Yes.
I'm so excited to have you here.
Yeah.
And you're with Luke's Locker, and I know I've known you for years. And so thank you so much for coming on today, Miss Kerry.
Yeah. I'm really happy to be here and share my enthusiasm for Luke's Locker, shoes, and fitness, especially. Yeah.
So, I know you are a marathoner. And how long have you, if you want to tell our viewers a little bit about you?
My history. Yeah. Well, so I've been running and doing triathlons. I've done Boston marathons and marathons, half marathons, and Ironmans, Kona. So that was the peak of my competitive days. That was back in the last millennium. So, but now I just enjoy running as my daily meditation and fitness activity. I pepper that with some body pump and yoga to keep healthy. But now my new endeavor is to do a running streak, and I've been doing it now for over 3 years. So I run daily, every day.
Past my condo.
Yes. That's one of my routes. So yeah, I've been doing over 1,100 days and still going. So that's now my new goal is just I want to stay healthy and keep fit for as long as possible. And that's my avenue is running.
Great. Well, as we step into 2023, what is this, day 3 or day 4 of January?
4, I think. Yep. We've lost count.
Yeah, there's just like, it just seems like that there's such an array of shoes out there, and there's so many offerings, and there's so many activities that, where I always just, as the wellness group fitness director here, I'm always like, find an activity that you think is going to allow you to enjoy.
Yeah, enjoy life.
Yeah. So with that being said, when you're thinking of workout and there's so many different offerings out there, I also feel that it's real important that you find the best shoe for your activity. So that's what we're going to be discussing today, is just a little bit about, how to kind of get that search on and find your best selection when it comes to your workout.
Yeah, shoes are tools. That's what I always say.
Shoes are tools. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. So before we talk about all the different shoe offerings that are, out there and more, let's talk a little bit about foot anatomy, because you being a shoe expert.
Yeah, not a doctor.
Exactly. She's not a podiatrist, but as a shoe expert, if, anyone comes to you and they're like, I guess, what are the kind of qualifying questions first that you would ask?
Well, why I love to work at Luke's is we can take the time to ask these questions. So somebody will come into the store and, immediately, for the most part, I'm not a runner. It's okay. You're moving, and we want to keep you comfortable. A lot of these shoes now can be worn during work. I mean, it's the thing to have Hoka or big cushy shoes if you're standing all day. So, you don't have to run to enjoy this plethora of shoe options. But so somebody comes in the store and we immediately ask, what do you seek? What is comfortable for you? We are individuals, and there is no one shoe, in my belief, there is no one shoe that fits a certain segment of the population. You pronate, you have to have this shoe. You have wide feet, you have to have this shoe. There's so many variances, and we do so many different activities, and we're built differently. Obviously, we have weaknesses, strengths, passions. Are we running long? Are we sitting all day? Are we tight in the hips? Are we, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Past history. So we get to ask some of these questions. So I kind of pull this information out from people.
So do you also analyze, do you talk to them about their actual foot structure? Yeah. And maybe, I know you're not a podiatrist, but maybe you could share, some of the common terms, like you just mentioned, pronation, supination, and so let's do a little.
People have bunions or wide feet or tight calves or pronation. Everybody pronates. everybody comes in and says, gosh, I'm wearing out the outside of my heel. Well,
so that means that your foot is rolling inward?
Everybody comes from the outside of their foot and they push off their big toe. That is kind of the natural gait. That's what we want to do. So that's pronation is inward rotation. So that's natural. It's when we collapse in. If our hips are tight or off alignment, or your inside thighs, your adductors are weak, and there's an obvious rolling in of the foot when you step down on it, that's over pronation. And supination or underpronation is outside rotation. So ideally, you want to move from the outside of your heel and pull off your big toe. That's the natural gait. Is
there also foot neutral?
Well, in neutral, that's the natural.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's the natural.
Yeah, that's what you want to do. You roll from your hip, your heel, and then pull off your big toe or your toes.
So do you find that there's a lot of folks out there that come into the store to buy shoes that have is that foot neutral? Is that sort of the perfect foot?
Well,
the perfect foot structure?
That's wise to assume, because there's people that pronate that don't have any aches and pains. Their body has accommodated them somehow. So you can't really generalize like that. It's what's that individual coming to the table with? What are their pains? What are their weaknesses? What have they noticed? And we change from day to day, year to year. You can wear different shoes for different purposes.
Oh, that's a really good point.
Yeah,
I never really thought about that. But I mean, as you progress, or just like anything else, or you get better at maybe an activity, and you just want something that's a little different to support you now that you're at this level versus that level.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. So, for an ideal foot type, if I come in and we figure out what type of foot structure I have, and then what are your other qualifying questions? Are you asking me like, hey, why do I want to buy this shoe? Or what are my goals? Or
what has worked for them in the past? You know, that's what I like to see. 'Cause I want to tap into their consciousness, because a lot of people say, well, I don't know what I want. You kind of do, because you know what has failed in the past. So I want to see what's comfortable for them. So we'll watch them walk. I'll see if they have any initial inward rotation.
Do you want to watch me walk?
Your foot? Well, you have to take your shoes off.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I can do that. No problem.
So I'll just come and have them walk in their stocking feet. They can walk straight away from me. You're a test.
All right.
Just walk straight away from me.
Okay. Straight away.
So Terri is neutral. She's not rolling inward, but you're also very fit. So if you did roll in, I would say, do you do any active sports? Are you a soccer player? Are you a tennis player? Because that means that they are probably pretty strong in their hips, or stronger, because they have some of that lateral acknowledgement. So I don't always assume just because they're rolling in that they're going to need a neutral shoe. So I will put them in a neutral shoe, which is a shoe that doesn't influence the guidance of your foot at all. It just stays out of the way. It's either a lot of cushion or a little bit of cushion.
Okay.
And I'll watch them run in it. And then if I witness anything wonky, or if they say, oh, I got my knee, or I got my hip, then we'll move gradually into a little bit more guidance.
Okay, so let me give you my profile. We just determined that I'm foot neutral, and I teach a lot of group fitness classes. I also teach cycling classes, which of course I'm going to need a specialized cycling shoe for that. But as far as the strength classes that I teach, swinging kettlebells, throwing sandbells, hand weights, compound moves. In addition to that, I also found a new love, and it happens to be pickleball. So little court sports, little strength, little cycling. Don't run anymore. Used to run some when we knew each other back in the day. So is there a shoe that would fit all of those different activities I do, or do I need like two different shoes?
Well, certainly people do wear one shoe, and I get it. They don't want to spend much money and have
because it's an investment.
So there's not absolutely not. You have to have a specialized shoe. But as you progress in the sport, and that you'll want kind of that specialized tool to make you a little bit more efficient, or move better, or enjoyable. Yeah. So you mentioned cross training. So what I look for, or what the industry has developed in cross-training, weightlifting, you want kind of some firmness in the heel. You don't want a lot of sponginess, because when you lift, you're going to want to push off your heels and your feet. So you want some firmness there. And if you have a lot of sponge, then it's just, you're kind of wasting energy. You're putting the energy in the ground instead of pulling up.
Oh, yeah. That's really interesting. I never really thought about when, just analyzing it like that.
And ideally, it would be great if you could do it barefoot, but then you drop weights on your feet and the gym gets food and everything else. That would be good.
We don't want to go there. None of that. No.
So again, this will protect your feet, and it will also help you move efficiently. So along with, there's also something called a drop in the shoe that you can witness in all these variant cushions and all that. You can't really look at a shoe and determine what a drop is, but the drop is the relationship between your heel and your midfoot. And we, back in the day, before there was natural running and the shoe industry kind of developed 10 millimeter, 12 millimeter drop, because the cushion was always in the heel. So you did have kind of, in essence, a high heel slope. So you kind of always were pitched forward, and that helped you move forward. But barefoot running came to play. 5-finger shoes, those little toe shoes.
Like, that was the buzz. That was like the rage.
Well, it was the rage. And everybody, then what you do is you're shifting your heel down. So you're kind of straightening, putting your spine over your hips and center of mass. So you're a little straighter, but it didn't eliminate any injuries. It kind of just transformed them into Achilles problems or fractured feet or anything else. So that kind of mirrored the philosophy that we're all individuals. We all have different needs and different anatomy, different tightness, weaknesses. So not one shoe or not one way of making a shoe is going to fit everyone. But now we have this wide spectrum that we can accommodate all those different individual needs. So back to this, the cross-training, weight training shoe. It has a lower offset, firmer heel, and then it has some lateral support side to side. So when you're doing lunges or monster walks or mountain climbers, you have a girdle here to kind of keep that foot in check, so it does stay centered over the shoe. So that's a cross-training shoe. Cycling shoe, like you mentioned, has a firm midfoot to pull off that pedal. And then running is linear. So the grooves are positioned to bend.
Different from the cross trainer.
Well, you can, and in cross training they have like quarters, or you'll be running on the treadmill or doing like for Camp Gladiator or something. You'll be doing quarters or halves. You can run in this. It's just not comfortable to run a far distance for most people. Now, some people are very efficient and they have great springs and they can run far on these types of shoes, but it's not the general population. Again, we have many different kinds of shoes that accommodate more running and pounding. When you're running, you're pounding.
Right.
More. Walking, there's a lot more control, so you might not need that much cushion. However, a lot of people like cushion.
But with a lot of activities, it seems like you're either in motion. So I guess some shoes weren't shoes created that would be more focusing on motion versus stability. But now have they fused those two elements together, or still can I find a shoe that's just really focused on
whatever shoe's comfortable for you.
And doesn't have as much stability.
Right. And the industry has kind of gone from that stability. I don't know if anybody around here has them, but there are people that roll in quite a bit. And there was a shoe, for example, Brooks developed a shoe called the Beast, or the Ariel for women. But it's a very wide platform, but it had a lot of structure on the medial side, very firm posting, and then this firm heel. So you were locked into it.
Would that be bad for the Achilles if you're locked like that?
It just didn't really solve anything. It helped a small part of the population, but now the industry is kind of shifting away from the word stability to guidance. You want to allow, or what we're finding is I want to allow a person to move as naturally as possible without locking them in to something that might be overcorrection.
Mm-hmm. I see.
So now it's
overcorrection could create injury as well.
Yeah. So now it's kind of, they've shifted the mold. They're kind of experimenting with different types of stability or guidance. And again, giving you many, many options to see which one is right for you.
Okay, so if we pick the running shoe, and then the cross trainer, and then we took my shoe, which is a court shoe.
Yeah. So
the
characteristics there are in a court shoe, tennis, pickleball, you're going to find a lot more structure here to keep, you're going to drag your heel, and there's going to be a lot of friction when you're moving side to side, and you're cutting a lot more. So it's a little bit more structured for stability, if you will.
Okay.
But it's not really a stability shoe. It's just a firmer shoe that keeps that foot in check so you can move efficiently and pull against it.
I feel the difference here.
And then there's lateral support. These are, so this is the design of K-Swift. So they kind of incorporate the branding in there too. They all have their special branding. But this also adds support to the foot.
How about the bottom?
This is a pivot point. So when you pivot, you'll find this in golf shoes.
At that kitchen line.
Yeah. So it's just easier to press down and pivot off that big toe. So it's a little bit more cushioned and it's flat. This is all flat. You can play, if you play tennis recreationally, you can play in all kinds of different shoes.
In a cross trainer?
Yeah, but you'll find if you get the right tool, you don't want to hammer with a screwdriver. So
good point.
Yeah, if you find the right tool, your game will just improve and just be better.
Nice.
Yeah. And then there's some arch support here too, because you want, when you're playing tennis, you don't really want too much flexion. You want to really kind of dig into that hip and really pivot.
So, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So I think this is probably one of the biggest questions. When is it time to retire your shoe?
Oh.
Like, what are the sticking points that say it's time to, throw these away?
I just hear my dad in my head going, "Oh my God, I've had these shoes forever and ever. And what's wrong with them? They're not." You can look at the bottom of the shoe and say, "Oh, I haven't worn this. I have a little bit of wear pattern, but it's no big deal." Well, what I'll do is I'll pick up the shoe, and a new shoe it'll just pop right back. It'll offer resistance. That's from the store, so that's okay.
It's not a new shoe.
Yeah,
okay.
So you can feel that there's some firmness there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's still popping back.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Whereas, this shoe, I don't wear it to run, but I've had it for a while. It's starting to just kind of cave in like a lumpy pillow. This is going to be very durable. This is the outsole. It's made to withstand friction on the ground. But it's the midsole, the stuff that we can't see, that breaks down like a lumpy pillow. And especially your important pressure points. If I put my hand in somebody's shoe that they've worn in a long time, I can feel where the imprint is, especially of the big ball of the foot. And then their toe prints. Now that, it's gone. And when I put on, I'll just say, "Hey, let's just try your old shoe in with the new shoe that, it's the same model." You'll feel the difference. And immediately they're like, "Oh, this shoe is really hard." Well, no, it's fresh. So usually the industry says 300 to 400 miles or 6 months. But if you wear them every day, or if you're a heavy striker,
walking around, but then,
if you're in them all day long,
for activity too, that would be every day.
So, and then you got to think of kind of like a lumpy pillow. It takes about 24 hours for the shoe to revamp.
Wow.
If you wear them all day long and you take them off at 6 o'clock at night and put them on at 6 o'clock in the morning, they've only revamped like, whatever, 50%. Let's throw that out. So they're going to accelerate the wear. But if you wear them in the morning to run, and then that's why they say just leave your exercise shoes to exercise in. Then you allow it to kind of inflate. Yeah. You're just
I need
accelerating
to come
the
later and
wear.
get another pair of shoes.
Yes.
For my
It's not
walking
a,
around.
it's not a gimmick that we use.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then, but people will they'll walk in and they'll just say, oh, my knee started hurting. Or it's not like one day the shoe gets bad. It's over a course of time. And you just start noticing it.
Yeah.
It's just not as poppy as it used to be.
Yeah. And I really, truly, that's when I always thought, oh, I need a new pair of shoes, because my body would start to tell me,
Absolutely.
like, it would like start at the foot, but continue to go up the chain, one joint at a time.
Yeah.
And then finally, like, really stay in the knee area. And I'm like, oh, it must be time for new shoes.
Yeah.
But 6 months is good to know. And I love that, knowing that it takes 24 hours for your,
that's
to, like,
general.
regroup before you should put them on again.
It's like fluffing things up again.
For your activity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Well, okay. So here's another scenario. What if, like, you're playing a sport? I'm going to give this one out again. I do love pickleball. What if I'm playing pickleball indoors on, like, a basketball court, and then I'm going outside on a tennis court? Should I have an indoor court shoe and an outdoor court shoe, or would this one?
I think that would, for about, you know what, aficionados of pickleball and tennis will probably go, oh my gosh, you really need a different shoe. To me, pickleball is probably a gentler sport than tennis. I noticed that tennis shoes have a lot more, they're heavier and they're more durable, because you're outside on maybe a clay court or whereas pickleball, I mean, you are playing outside.
It's less traveled because it's a shorter court.
Well, that's true too. Yeah. It just seems that tennis shoes to me have a lot more of those overlays, and they're heavier in general. Okay. Than pickleball. You can get away with a lighter shoe.
And so the surface doesn't really account.
I do know that there are clay tennis shoes and other, but again, I'm not a big tennis player, so I'm speaking out of turn here. Right. I'm thinking all your tennis players are probably going, oh yeah, you need a special shoe.
We'll run with that. So what if, let's say I buy the shoe, cross trainer, and then it's 6 months old, I buy another one. Does the manufacturer ever, like, could the shoe be different than from the first shoe I bought?
Oh yeah. Well, usually they change in general models every year. So they'll listen to consumer reports and feedback and designs, trends, and then they'll revamp the shoe every year. But this one has gotten wider in the last model. The tongue is a little bit different, or the lacing system is a little bit different. A little softer. I think they probably got a little feedback that their other ones are too hard. But.
So that's interesting. So if I find my perfect shoe, the chances are it may not be my perfect shoe.
I know,
a year from now, or 6 months, 6 months from now, with your advice.
Yeah, you can't always assume that. And people will come in and just say, "I just need my old shoe."
That's how I'm like, run in, grab and go.
Yeah, and we encourage them to try them on, and because they do change. They change the uppers. They've all gotten a lot lighter. Stretchier, and the trend now is to have these big hunker midsoles. Yeah.
So
anyway,
another like easy peasy question here. Should I wear, kind of work out in this shoe a little bit right away, or should I wear it around the house before I actually go for my workout? What's the best solution?
If you're wearing the same brand and the same model, I have rarely had problems running in a shoe the next day in a new model. But if you're changing, but if you're changing the model, you're changing the dynamics of the shoe, that heel drop that I was talking about before, or the geometry of the shoe, if it's a rocker now, that's going to change your gait. So I would want you to get, or like these zero drop shoes. A lot of people, this is where my heel and my midfoot are the same. This is very successful for a lot of people. Wide toe box, it's shaped like the foot, but it dramatically stretches the Achilles and just changes your whole position. So, or the 5 fingers when they came out, you just don't want to go out for even a 30-minute run. I would encourage them to walk around in it and maybe just take little chunks, like 15 minutes or maybe 1 mile, and that's it. So your body gets used to it because you've changed everything.
Okay. Do you have a Hoka here? Oh, yeah.
I do have a Hoka.
Okay, so,
Hoka Ona.
all right. Explain to me how this came, I mean, how the shift, because when you were just talking about the 5-finger shoe, I mean, that's nothing. And now all of a sudden there's like this platform.
No, it's not, all of a sudden this came out.
What's the backstory of switching from, because the 5-finger was definitely the hype for a while there. And now like it just went from that minimal to that.
Yeah.
So what happened?
It just, people got injured and that wasn't the solution. So, all right, let's try something different.
So extreme.
And I wish I had the history of this. It was developed by a downhill skier, I want to say. Oh, that loves to run downhill. When you run downhill, you're putting a lot of stress on your quads in the front of your body and your knees. So he developed this. There was a shoe called, dang it. MDA. Anyway, it was a beveled rocker down here. And it really helped people that had a lot of problem moving to rock forward with that bevel that was this way. So I think he just flipped this around. And this is very similar to the Birkenstock philosophy, where you have a hollowed out heel and you have a firm arch and your foot kind of rests over this pivot. And this design has, not the cushioning, but the design has been around. Puma, Kahu, those shoes have that kind of fulcrum there. But this shoe doesn't bend. It doesn't bend. You are rocking over, I always like to say, a bike wheel. You're teeter-tottering over it. You're deep in this shoe, so that offers some support. So you're kind of moving like this over the shoe.
So so for this shoe though, if you have a foot neutral, would that even be a good shoe for you?
It's more about, do you have ankle mobility? Do you have difficulty flexing and dorsiflexing and all that? So this allows the foot just to kind of transfer the heel to toe with a rocker. So it's kind of a gentler glide instead of bending. It just depends on your anatomy and what, either you love this type of shoe when you put it on, or you go, what's the deal with this rocker? I watch their faces, and this has brought relief to a lot of people. Their mascot's a marshmallow, so it's all about cushioning. And a lot of people that stand all day, nurses, doctors, teachers, warehouse workers, basketball officials. I had a guy come in yesterday. Loved the shoe. It's just a little bit easier to move for some people in it.
I see.
So that's the design. My interpretation of their design. It's worth a try. And again, this is the beefiest, cushiest one. There are models that are a lot less. Like this is a Hoka, believe it or not.
Oh,
it's a trail shoe. So, I mean, I like this shoe. I prefer something a lot lower profile than something like this.
So for, people that are 24/7 on their feet.
Working, they like this shoe. Or they found
really
another big one is the On. That's kind of a unique design. They cut out all this foam here to make it a really light. It's just another design feature. It's Swiss. No, I don't have the right shoe. The right shoe has a little Swiss flag on it. But it makes it a lot lighter. There's a speed board here. So this is kind of firm. So it's not a rocker, but it's firmer. So that adds structure, stability without being a stability shoe. Broader platform. So you have more on the earth. So a little beveled, I don't know if you can see it, but the cushioning extends over the uppers to provide more foundation, so that adds stability. So there's all kinds of guidance now to a shoe. You can make it narrower, or you can make it wide and still not be classified as a firm wedge in that medial side. But again, there's just so much variety. Brooks provides structure by a guide rail. Here's another way of doing it. it's from the heel, and it's like those, when you go bowling, those bumper rails go up so you don't get a gutter ball. That's what I need all the time. But it kind of keeps the foot in check. So if you're supinating too much or pronating too much, it just keeps you in that neutral position, guiding forward, and the flex screws are there. So this shoe bends, but so this is considered a stability shoe.
Ah, okay.
And then Saucony approaches stability shoe. They've developed this. This is cushioned here, and then wedged in between is a guide rail, but it's kind of 360, goes all the way around the shoe. So again, it guides the foot forward. So that's another approach. Instead of having it firm right here, that irritated some people, that rolled in. So I kind of feel like I'm banging on a brick house. So instead of having that firmness there, oh shoot, I didn't bring it. This is just kind of a gentler approach to keeping the whole foot moving forward.
Wow. There's so many selections and so many
and now this
options.
This is a carbon. This is where everybody's going marathon if they want to get faster and faster. This is a carbon.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that whole technology.
This is hard. So this came about. Nike, they were trying to break the 2-hour marathon. They developed a shoe that had plates in it, carbon plates, and the positioning has changed over the years as they developed it. But it's an incredibly light shoe. This is a racing shoe.
Oh my gosh, this is like really light compared to this.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Yes. I mean, and because of the reasons behind it, obviously.
So you want a light shoe, right?
I've never felt anything this light for a shoe.
Yeah.
That's
so
wild.
That is, this is where I get my power, is when I pull off my toes. So if I have a carbon fiber plate there, I can really force my foot forward. So it's like, I always like to, I'm a visual person, a prosthesis blade. So it's the same thing. The more you recoil it, the more it's going to bring you forward.
And it's not flexing at all. I mean, there's
no, and this is embedded here. This is there's a plate in here. This is a carbon fiber shoe as well. But this whole thing.
Let me feel the difference. Is there any difference between the two?
Well, that plate goes all the way through, and then the plate is here.
Yeah.
And then Nike has this incredibly soft foam here. It's really nice.
Wow, that's so interesting. And the shoe these are so light.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So that's the big thing in racing now. But you can definitely hear people run in carbon because they're clunking. So I think it's very hard on the feet because you're transferring all that energy right up to your foot. So you have to, that's why they caution. I just don't like selling this as a training shoe all day long or every day and save it for your races. It's pretty hard on your feet. And your leg turnover, you're just going. So again, you gotta ease into it. Your body has to figure out what the heck is going on here. So yeah.
Any other advice you can give us?
Yeah, come to Luke's. No, no. I mean, just play with it. There's it's so funny. People want us to present. Here's your magic pill. Take it, and all your pains will go away. Again, a shoe is a tool, and that's why you take exercise classes to get stronger. Yeah, absolutely. I had a woman yesterday, and she was just like, I can't run anymore because I hurt. I'm like, okay, yes, you can. We just have to figure out why you hurt. And we're not young anymore. We can't just get out of bed and run like we used to. We have to stretch. We have to take exercise classes. We have to take yoga. We have to work on, our core and keeping our hips straight and, all that other jazz. And so that's just to keep healthy. This is not, I can't give you a magic pill, but we can work on getting stronger and using this as a tool to have fun.
Well,
keep you moving.
Speaking of fun, I've had a lot of fun just hanging out with you.
I could go on all day.
For this segment, and I so thank you for coming in.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions? Or there's trail shoes too. I brought this.
Well, I have one more question before we end. Then the trail shoe, I would think it would be close to a cross trainer.
Well, so the features of a trail shoe is there's usually a stiffer shank in anticipation they're going over rocks or gravel or something, because you want some stiffness there. And then the lugs are a lot more pronounced to grip the ground.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And some more overlays to protect the foot and not have you rip out of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
There's a shoe for every sport.
And every activity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And every foot.
Yep. There you go. Boom, boom, boom.
That's our mantra.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah. Happy New Year. And thanks to all our viewers out there. Next time when you wake up, remember it's time to wake up and get wealthy. I'm Terri Arends. Until next time, we'll see you. Bye.